There are some people that are not qualified to work for the federal government, no matter how much experience they may have. Are you one of them? Let's talk about it. Right up front, you have to be a U.S. citizen to qualify for a federal government job. There is just no way getting around this. If a person is an illegal immigrant or a green card holder, they will not be considered for a government job. Well, what if that person decides to lie on their application? Is there any way they can actually get the job if they lie? In that case, the person will be automatically disqualified. After the tentative job offer, you will be required to fill out an I-9 form. You are also required to put all that citizen information when you're doing your background checks and filling out those documents. It'll ask you over and over again. Now, if you're not a U.S. citizen, but you would like to be one, the best way is MNM, which stands for Marriage, Naturalization, Military. Next thing that can disqualify you is your credit score. Now, there isn't a magical minimum credit score number you need to hit in order to attain federal employment, but it doesn't look good if you have a lot of debt. So if your income to debt ratio is all jacked up, that's going to look poor on you. Also, if you have a bankruptcy, if you recently filed a bankruptcy or you're currently going through a bankruptcy, that could look bad too. And the reason for that is the government is concerned with espionage. Individuals that are tempted or swayed to sell information to foreign nations. There are many examples of government employees, including military members, who have sold information to Russia or to China, all for the desire of more money. Now, of course, you can still do this even if you have a perfect credit score. But if you have a lower credit score, you are deemed higher risk to commit espionage. Next is an act of treason. Now, this is definitely a showstopper. But the good news is, the last time an American was convicted of treason was in 1949. Treason carries a lifelong ban on federal government employment. But it's not just treason that can get you disqualified. If you've been convicted of violent offenses more than once, if it's a repetitive thing where you're constantly getting arrested for battery or assault, that could make you disqualified. Another thing is domestic violence. So even if you have one case of domestic violence and you have a conviction, that can automatically disqualify you for any position that requires a firearm. So we're talking about CIA, FBI, Border Patrol. Speaking of the CIA, I have a friend of mine that's applying for the CIA and he's waited over 12 months. And I've talked to people time and time again. If you're trying to get into the ATF, the CIA, the FBI, a lot of times the wait is at least 12 months and longer. You have to undergo the polygraph test, a very intensive top secret clearance. So if that's one of your desires is to come in and work as a special agent, you need to understand you might be in it for a long ride. So you might want to have another job while you're waiting for that special agent job to go through. Next is substance abuse. Now, if you're abusing controlled substances, whether it's hard drugs or prescription drugs or even alcohol, if you're still doing that and you mark it on your background check, that could be an automatic disqualifier. But if a person is a former addict and they can show proof of recovery, then they can still be able to apply and qualify for a government job. This is because people with controlled substance abuse problems, they're not always thinking clearly and they could jeopardize classified or sensitive information. And the person probably wouldn't qualify for a secret clearance. Now, many government jobs do not require a secret clearance, but all of them do require a background check. Most of these jobs will require a public trust background check. And this is a common background check that would roughly take 1, 2, at the very most, maybe 3 weeks. It really depends on how busy your security team will be. The way that it usually works is after your tentative job offer, you fill out a lot of paperwork. HR passes that information to the security team. The security team will then put you in a queue and then they'll process that paperwork and they'll conduct the background check. Now, for the times I've been hired with the federal government, this process has been pretty seamless. One of the positions was for a public trust medium risk, and it really didn't take that much time at all. For a secret clearance, as long as you qualify for an intern, then you can actually start working in some cases while they're processing the rest of your clearance. Now, if the job risk is low or medium, then it's usually a NACI, National Agency Check and Inquiries, background check. And they usually check on 3 things. 1, law enforcement check. 2, the arrest records check. And 3, the credit check. If you do end up failing the background check, you should be informed on why you failed. Usually you'll get an email. But if you don't and you're curious, you can submit a FOIA request, which is the Freedom of Information Act. There are also numerous private companies that you can actually pay and run your own background check. So if you're really paranoid or you're curious or you're just wondering, you can reach out to a company, pay $19 or whatever it is, and have them do a background check to pull up your records to see what's in there. But for most of us, I think this is unnecessary. Now, if you are eligible for a federal government job, there are still ways that you could be disqualifying yourself when you're applying to these jobs. If you want to know how to avoid some of these common errors, then I want you to watch this video next. If you want to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.